Yeah,
but she needs to be on a better. She needs to be on a better team.
The WNBA has officially committed an act of self-sabotage so profound it will be studied for years. After a season defined by brutal, uncalled fouls and a shocking level of disrespect, their golden goose, Caitlin Clark, is reportedly finalizing her escape to Europe, and she has no reason to look back. The league was gifted a generational talent, a one-woman economic revolution, and instead of shielding their most valuable asset, they allowed her to be used as a human punching bag in a cynical display of on-court hazing. Now, as the fallout triggers a meltdown in the sports world, the full story is emerging: a toxic cocktail of professional jealousy, deliberately targeted aggression, and a level of administrative incompetence that managed to push their biggest star to the breaking point before her rookie season even concluded.
She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark.
The rumors of a European exit have morphed into a full-blown media inferno. ESPN is now frantically reporting on a colossal new contract, posturing as if they have any influence left on her decisions. The reality is they forfeited that privilege weeks ago. For Clark, Europe represents something the WNBA proved incapable of offering: a sanctuary. It's an opportunity to compete in a basketball ecosystem where elite talent is celebrated, not systematically targeted, and where superstars are protected as cherished assets, not pummeled into submission. She is leaving behind a path littered with the shattered egos of her rivals and the broken dreams of a league that had victory in its grasp. After realizing that staying meant enduring more of the same, she is walking away from the chaos and toward a future where her skills are finally the main event.
What I am upset about, it's like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
From the opening tip-off of her debut, the physicality Clark endured was in a different stratosphere of aggression. This wasn't the typical welcome to the league ritual that rookies are expected to survive. This was a calculated ambush, executed with personal malice and a relentless viciousness that was plain to see. Opponents weren't just playing her tough, they were treating her as if she were a linebacker on a football field. Every drive to the basket was met with a flying elbow. Every cut through the lane was an invitation for a hip check. It was as if she were stepping into a back alley brawl every night, forced to withstand a targeted campaign of physical intimidation, designed not just to stop her, but to break her.
Kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie.
While Clark was being systematically assaulted on the court, the referees seemed to have adopted a vow of silence. The whistles stayed quiet, tucked away as if they were merely decorative. Blatant, aggressive fouls were consistently ignored. Dangerous cheap shots were deliberately overlooked, and officials repeatedly allowed opponents to get away with infractions that would have resulted in immediate penalties against any other player. This was far more than a few bad calls. It was a consistent and glaring pattern of negligence that transformed the basketball court into a high-risk injury zone for its biggest star. The league, by empowering its officials to look the other way, became an active accomplice in her abuse, sending a chilling message to the entire league. The rules don't apply when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
If Caitlin Clark is the quote-unquote savior, if she's the golden girl, milk it!
This wasn't a narrative invented by fans or click-hungry analysts. Caitlin Clark herself confirmed the reality of her situation, telling reporters with raw honesty, "I feel like I'm getting hammered." It was a staggering admission from a competitor known for her unshakable composure. It was a direct appeal for help. She meticulously explained how opponents were given a different set of rules when defending her, engaging in contact that other players didn't have to face. She wasn't just being played hard, she was being systematically targeted, and she knew it. For a league's marquee player to publicly state that she felt unprotected should have triggered an immediate 5-alarm fire in the WNBA's headquarters. Instead, it was met with a cold, deafening silence, a fatal miscalculation.
Truth is finally coming to the light. The same light that is going to be dimming here in about 12 hours when Caitlin Clark is eliminated from the playoffs.
The league's catastrophic failure to protect Clark becomes almost surreal when you examine the financial tidal wave she created. Before her arrival, the Indiana Fever struggled to attract 3,000 fans to a game, playing in near-empty arenas. Post Clark, that number detonated to a staggering 17,000 fans for every single contest, a mind-boggling 400% surge. The Fever instantly became the league's top draw, selling out arenas both at home and on the road. This was the Caitlin Clark effect in action, an economic miracle. She wasn't just another star, she was a cultural phenomenon who single-handedly transformed the WNBA into must-see television. Her jersey became the highest selling in league history, eclipsing the sales of all-time legends combined. She was a living, breathing financial juggernaut, and the league stood by and watched as their rivals tried to tear her down.
It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine.
It is almost comical to witness the pivot from major sports media outlets now. After providing lukewarm, almost dismissive coverage all season and framing her as just another rookie, they are suddenly scrambling in a panic, acting as if they didn't completely ignore the brewing crisis. While she was single-handedly propping up the league with record-breaking ratings, her games were often treated as an afterthought in sports news cycles. Now that she's on the verge of leaving, they are framing her departure as a world-stopping catastrophe. The game against the New York Liberty pulled in 1.5 million viewers, a figure that surpasses some nationally televised NBA games, yet the media narrative never truly reflected the magnitude of her impact. Now it's far too little, far too late. The truth has exploded into the open, and the media is left trying to explain how they fumbled the easiest and most profitable sports story in years.
But if you're not delivering the product and you're not making the revenue and you're not, giving people the entertainment that they want, then you're not going to make any money and your league is going to
Call it professional jealousy or call it bitter envy, but the truth is a toxic resentment toward Caitlin Clark was poisoning the league's locker rooms. Imagine being a respected veteran, the face of a franchise for years, only to be completely eclipsed by a rookie who instantly becomes the center of the universe. Instead of recognizing that her unprecedented star power was a rising tide lifting all boats, a faction of players viewed her as an existential threat. This bitterness manifested on the court through vindictive fouls and overly aggressive plays. They weren't just trying to win a basketball game, they were trying to send a message to physically diminish the golden girl who had stolen their spotlight. This poisonous culture was allowed to fester unchecked by the league, creating an environment where targeting the star player became an accepted, unspoken strategy.
And this woman swats at the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down and her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. No foul call. No refs stopping the game to go, is this a flagrant? None of that. Just everybody moved on.
If one single moment encapsulated the league's arrogant and dismissive stance, it was the now infamous iPad incident. This should have been a blaring, system-wide alarm bell for everyone involved. Instead, the WNBA opted to sweep it under the rug, normalizing the idea that it was acceptable for a league's biggest star to be treated like an outcast. This event was a clear and public signal that something was profoundly broken within the league's culture. It was a visual metaphor for the disrespect and simmering hostility she was facing on a daily basis. Yet the league did nothing. They consciously chose to ignore the glaring warning signs, a decision that proved to be a monumental and franchise-altering mistake.
Those guys, they're the racists, when really, y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
The psychological burden was immense, but the physical danger escalated to a terrifying new level during one unforgettable game. An opponent, in a supposed attempt to swat at the ball, deliberately turned her hand down and viciously jabbed her fingernails directly into Caitlin Clark's eye. It was a shocking, malicious act, yet what transpired next was somehow even more disturbing. No foul was called. The referees didn't halt the game to review the play for a flagrant foul. Play simply continued as if nothing had happened. This was no longer basketball. It was a brazen assault committed in plain sight, met with zero protection and zero accountability. The league had effectively sanctioned an environment where its marquee player could be physically attacked without any fear of repercussion.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it.
But the assaults weren't confined to the physical realm. Following a particularly grueling contest, veteran player Alyssa Thomas commandeered her platform to launch a series of shocking accusations. Instead of acknowledging Clark's undeniable talent, Thomas insinuated that racial dynamics were the primary driver of Clark's success, and alleged she had been subjected to racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. In an instant, the narrative was violently twisted from a celebration of a historic rookie season into a bitter and divisive public debate. It was a deplorable tactic, a clear attempt to undermine Clark's achievements by entangling them in a toxic and entirely unfounded scenario. And the media, sensing a controversy, poured gasoline on the fire, running with it as breaking news.
She's got 14,000 followers. And it's really easy to ignore, and most people don't know who she is in the sports world. The only reason why people even know who she is because of Caitlin Clark. And she still only got 14,000 followers on Twitter. She doesn't have much of a brand.
In the face of this maelstrom, Clark remained the consummate professional. She stood her ground with grace, insisting that her success was forged through relentless dedication and hard work, not through any contrived racial narrative. However, the very fact that she was forced to defend her own merit speaks volumes about how distorted the public conversation had become. While she was on the court breaking records, shouldering the weight of a team, and navigating immense pressure, she was simultaneously forced to engage with these off-court controversies instigated by others. Instead of receiving the unadulterated recognition she had earned, she was being dragged into a poisonous swamp of jealousy, amplified by a media apparatus that thrives on conflict.
Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted and nothing.
For years, the WNBA has meticulously crafted its brand as a beacon of opportunity, empowerment, and equality. Its marketing is built on the foundation of being a progressive and inclusive league. But when the moment arrived to embody those ideals and protect its most valuable and visible asset, the league failed in spectacular fashion. It completely abandoned her. The very institution that should have been celebrating her and building a dynasty around her stood by passively and watched as she was systematically dismantled, both physically on the court and reputationally off of it. Her meal ticket, the sole engine of the league's newfound relevance, was under constant siege, and the league did absolutely nothing. It was hypocrisy of the highest order.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
Now, with Clark's departure for Europe all but confirmed, the WNBA and ESPN are left to deal with the wreckage of their own making. The golden goose has escaped the farm, leaving behind an empty, barren field of lost potential. They are now desperately trying to elevate other talented players into her stratosphere, but it feels forced and inauthentic. The bitter irony is that they only began to appreciate the treasure they possessed at the exact moment she was packing her bags to leave. The surge in merchandise revenue and the unprecedented media buzz she generated now serve as painful monuments to their monumental failure. They had a historic opportunity to build an empire, and instead they chose to let it crumble into dust.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
What does the immediate future of the WNBA look like without its central star? It looks like a painful return to reality. It looks like thousands of empty seats in arenas that were sold out just months ago. It looks like dusty Caitlin Clark jerseys relegated to the clearance rack. It looks like network executives trying to justify to their bosses why their ratings have fallen off a cliff. They have become the punchline of a joke they didn't even realize they were telling. Her absence will create a vacuum of chaos, forcing them to say goodbye to their primetime television slots and their mainstream relevance. The league that briefly touched the sun is now facing a swift and brutal return to the niche obscurity from which Clark had single-handedly rescued them.
She's the golden goose.
This is far more than just a personnel loss. It is a self-inflicted historical tragedy. The WNBA was handed a winning Powerball ticket and somehow managed to shred it into confetti. Generational talents like Caitlin Clark appear once in a lifetime, and when they do, you treat them like royalty. You build a fortress around them, and you protect them at all costs. The WNBA and its media partners had their chance, and they completely and utterly blew it. Now, as Clark prepares to take her incredible skills and the massive global spotlight she commands to a league that will undoubtedly appreciate her, the WNBA is left to sift through the rubble of its own shattered credibility. She deserved so much better than this preventable disaster, and this will forever be recorded as one of the most incompetent fumbles in the history of modern sports. Beyond the league-wide issues, there was another glaring problem hiding in plain sight: her own team. The Indiana Fever, while scrappy, often looked completely unprepared for the supernova that had landed in their locker room. On-court chemistry was frequently non-existent, with players missing open shots created by Clark's gravity, making baffling decisions in critical moments, and failing to provide the defensive support a superstar needs. It often felt like Clark was fighting a war on two fronts, battling the relentless aggression of her opponents while simultaneously trying to elevate a roster that wasn't ready for the massive spotlight. This added another crushing layer to her burden, forcing her to be not just a scorer and a playmaker, but a miracle worker. Clark's potential move to Europe isn't just a loss for the WNBA, it's a seismic event for international basketball. Her arrival on the global stage would instantly shift the balance of power, drawing millions of American eyes to overseas leagues in a way that has never been seen before. The league that secures her signature won't just be getting a player, they'll be getting an entire media ecosystem, a merchandise empire, and a legion of devoted fans. This move could signal a new era where the WNBA is no longer the undisputed pinnacle of women's basketball, but merely one of several high-level options for elite American talent, a terrifying prospect for a league that has always taken its status for granted. The WNBA is about to learn a very hard lesson. They aren't just losing a player, they are losing the millions of new fans she brought with her. The social media backlash is already reaching a fever pitch, with a torrent of outrage, threats of boycotts, and a profound sense of betrayal from a fan base that was just beginning to invest its time, money, and passion into the league. These new fans, drawn in by Clark's electrifying talent, feel cheated. They watched her get battered and abused while the league did nothing, and they are now ready to walk away with her, leaving the WNBA to deal with the angry remnants of a revolution they failed to support. Ultimately, Caitlin Clark's situation has ripped the curtain back to expose the deep, systemic flaws within the WNBA. Her saga highlights the crippling pay disparity that makes European contracts so alluring in the first place. It underscores the league's historic marketing failures before her arrival, proving they had no idea how to handle a truly mainstream superstar. Most importantly, it revealed a resistant and perhaps insecure internal culture that seemed threatened by, rather than grateful for, a disruptive force who was changing their entire world. This was never just about one player, it was about a broken system that was wholly unprepared for the gift it was given. Now the final question is a chilling one: has the damage already been done for good? Even if a last-ditch effort was made to keep her, has the league not already revealed its true colors? The WNBA was presented with a clear choice: evolve and protect the future, or cater to the egos of the past. It appears they chose the latter. The trust has been shattered, the disrespect has been shown, and the incompetence has been laid bare for all to see. They didn't just risk losing a player, they gambled with their entire future. And as the sports world watches this slow-motion car crash, one thing is becoming painfully clear: the WNBA is about to learn that some mistakes are irreversible.